Welcome back, everyone, to season 3 of the Creative Mountain Mama podcast. Today, I have a super special guest. Kaysyn is back from season 1. Kaysyn Krystal Photography. She does an amazing job capturing the rugged West. She helps part-time on a tour so she can do photography for hunting guide trips, and check out her page if you love everything from the rugged West lifestyle to ranching and horse life. Thank you so much for joining me again, Kaysyn.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I just look back on our first recording and that it really stuck with me. I think about it all the time, and I just love what you're doing and trying to help other people through these walks of life and helping them know that they're not alone. And I just appreciate you having me back again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kaysyn and I, our families know each other from Meeker, from the Western Slope. That's where she's based, and that's where my mom grew up, and that's where my great grandfather had his cattle ranch at the K/K Ranch. He was the manager, so special place in my heart for this girl. Tell me what you have been up to since we spoke last.
Well, a lot actually. I'm still doing photography, obviously, and videography. It definitely shifted. I was doing a lot of families, portraits, seniors at that time, with the intent to go into the Western lifestyle and that direction. And I actually am now doing a ton of just content creation for large brands. Game Guard out of Texas. I work with them very closely. I have a shoot actually with them coming up next week here in Colorado, Burns, Colorado. And then I've worked with Farrell for the last couple years, or doing a lot for them. And then I've started to kind of dive into some documentary films.
Cool.
So for generational ranches, historical ranches, I actually just shot for the LOV Ranch a couple weeks ago. Um, they are one of the, or actually, they are the longest standing ranch in Colorado with the same brand. So from the very first settler of the Piceance Basin, they have kept that brand, that LOV, within the family. So
I
really cool.
know that brand. I just finished Rifle Shots because we had Doc Titchener, who was in Rifle. He was the first doctor, and in the back they have these brands, and LOV is huge.
Yeah, LOV is a giant, like, and they have a nice operation. That's crazy that that connection,
Yeah,
small world.
it's the longest standing ranch. Yeah, it was just in that book. It's like it was published by the Rifle Library Associates or something like that. So it was, kind of a grassroots book, but that's super cool to hear that you're working with them and that their ranch operation's still going after all this time. It's
Yep.
insane.
Yeah, and that's the gal that I work with closely, her name is Carrie, and she's actually a cousin of mine. So I actually have direct like lineage there. So
It is really funny how family works in small towns.
yeah, it's
And we're related.
crazy.
That seems to be the case. So I know you have a little one behind you. We talked a little bit about motherhood and specifically single motherhood. Have there been any unexpected joys or, moments of reinvigorating your faith being a single mama?
Yeah, so that's kind of part of the last couple years what I've been up to. I found myself in a relationship and it brought lots of good to my life. However, also lots of bad. And so just being a single mom and dating as a single mom is really hard. And I lost my faith. I'm not gonna lie. Like I just kind of got away from it. The life got the best of me. But after and we broke up, the relationship is over. But um it just rekindled my connection with my children
Hmm.
and how much more important my relationship with my children is than and my relationship with God. and God will provide when the time is right. And
Absolutely.
that's a big one for me is that it made the special moments of being a single parent and appreciating the life that I can provide for my children that I've been blessed with, through prayer. Oh my gosh, countless nights, mornings, days, hours of prayer, and just bringing me closer to my children and just watching God work through them now. Now that, we have this more cohesive and this tight-knit family life, watching them love God like I do and accept Him into their hearts and soften has been amazing. My children are totally different children now
Mm.
because of this experience. So.
And what have you worked on with them intentionally, sitting down to prayer together or, those moments of building up resilience? What has that looked like for you lately?
So we every night we read out of their children's Bible, and we also read a little girl's devotional book. And so it's just talking about God's little princess. And when we go to our own prayer, it has prompted prayers, but when we go
Mm.
to our own prayer, I really try to encourage the girls to lead with what they are grateful for. What has God blessed to them and what are they grateful for? And it could be something, and I told them it could be something huge, it could be something small. And so that's where we really go with our faith is appreciating the little things and seeing God in everything, all the little things. And the shift in their daily life has been amazing. Like technology, their screen time and whatnot has almost diminished. Like, of course, rest days are great, but they're grateful to just be able to sit and look outside. They see God in everything. And so that's where we've been focusing on is just the gratitude of the things, even when life gets really hard, and, building that resilience and reminding them that God has a plan for us.
It reminds me of that song from the White Christmas movie where they count blessings instead of sheep.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen that movie.
Oh my gosh, you gotta look up that song. It's such a good song. Counting our blessings. They end the night every night by, in the movie,
Mhm.
by counting their blessings instead of sheep. What
Oh,
does your village look like there? I know it's a tight-knit community. Who do you have as support as a single mama?
oh my gosh, I have the best support system. I am so blessed. I can't say that enough. My mom, my sister, I have a really great group of gal pals that I have here in totally different lifestyles. I always say that my circle is small, but with lots of color. Like they all live these way different lifestyles than me, but it gives me so much perspective. And the thing that is the best is like our hearts all align. But sometimes, I just need that emotional support from a friend, or I need a physical support from my mom. My mom only lives 3 miles away. My sister
Nice.
lives 3 miles away. One of my best friends, they live here in Meeker, so, and then I have some that live in Texas. So just being able to visit with them, but that's definitely been my community is just these women on the same path of upward and forward. So,
And it sounds like you've been kind of implementing these daily routines with your girls. Who inspired that in you?
um, it was honestly God. I had a God moment. And kind of a little precursor to this story is I was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder. I was having seizures back to back, and I remember I was on a gurney in an ambulance, my first time ever in an ambulance. That was pretty fun. And I just remember like him touching me and like coming to me even more and stronger than ever. And he was like, you need to slow down and find what's more important and most important. All these other things are not as important as your children and your relationship with God. and and with me, like, I said that a little bit backwards, but anyway, I realized in that moment with my seizures just that I needed to change my life. Like I made a whole 180 of where my life was headed and the direction I was going. And implementing that into my girls' life every day was part of his plan. He knew that he had to slow me down. He's like, "Hey, lady, you're gonna have some seizures, like if you
Mm.
can't slow down." And then just teaching that into my girls' life. And it was all him. Glory all to him because he was the one that pushed me in this direction. And I've prayed for his guidance, and here I am. So,
And walk me through what slowing down looked like. From the ambulance to now, what are those small pocket moments or big moments in your life?
yeah, so slowing down, I physically had to. My brain would get overloaded, overstimulated, and instead of just like having anxiety or elevated heart rate, something like that, I would literally have a brain reset and have a seizure.
Mm.
And so it was truly physical. That's how my slowdown looked for the first 2 weeks. Following that event, I couldn't drive. I could barely do household tasks. I couldn't feed my own animals. I could barely care for my kids. Thank the Lord that they are very responsible young little girls and, very understanding. But that it literally took the rug out from under my feet, and I couldn't do all the things that I was doing. And then slowly but surely, like I got back to what I would say about a quarter of the speed that I was running
Mm.
at prior to having seizures. And everybody was still like, "Wow, Kaysyn, you're still doing a lot." And I felt like I wasn't. And just I kept pushing, pushing, pushing. And so just being like, you can't do everything. You literally cannot do everything. And especially as a single mom, like I'm, it's just me. I have my girls 4 to 5 days a week during the weekdays when they're doing school and activities and stuff like that. And just realizing that, like, hey, yeah, you're playing the mom role 5 days a week. You're also trying to play the dad role 5 days a week. And then I'm trying to make a living too
Mhm.
and ride horses. And I have 5 acres of property. Like there's so many moving parts and just understanding that I am doing a lot. It might not feel like I am, but I need to stop and like check those off and be like, yeah, okay, I was mom. There's a study that shows that being a mother, a stay-at-home mother, full-time mother, is equal to working 2.5 full-time jobs.
Mm.
So yeah, I guess like slowing down. I kind of digress from your question, but um, slowing down and just realizing all the things that I do, writing that down, like showing myself, proving to myself, which is a terrible way to look at it. Proving is such a kind of an icky word, but proving to myself that I am doing enough. I am enough. Like I'm doing a lot. So
Yeah. What kind of animals do you have on your property?
I have two quarter horses, and then I have two mini ponies. I
My
have
goodness.
four. I have four chickens. I used to have two goats, and I used to have four roping calves. So I'm now down to my two quarter horses, my two mini ponies, got a dog, four chickens, um, kittens. We have lots of kittens right now. That was unexpected, but so yeah. But before we had lots of animals here.
So you are full to the max. And I spoke to Christy Titus and I said, how many hours does that take? And she's like, as good as you want them to be. She raises meals. But what is that work, daily work allotment just for your animals? How many hours does that take?
For me, It kind of just depends on the day. Like if I'm exercising, if I'm training, it could look anywhere to 2 to 4 hours a day. If I'm, because I have my one horse is my breakaway horse, and then I have my other horse is my girls' horse, so I'm still always trying to fine tune him and make him as safe as possible for my kids. So yeah, it could be around 4 hours, including my feed time and training and exercising.
Plus being a mama, plus keeping up on the house, plus
And plus, yeah,
running your own business and doing all of the brand strategy for these big brands.
yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot.
And how do you lean into your faith on those hard days and hard moments?
Oh my gosh, instead of, I get overwhelmed. I'm gonna preface that like this doesn't cure my overwhelmedness
Yeah.
or, but it helps comfort me. Whenever I do start to feel overwhelmed, I stop and I just like think to myself or I write it out occasionally, type it out. I'm often in front of a computer and I just praise him for all of the things that I have in my life. And I'm like, I am so grateful that I am this busy. Like, thank you, God, for providing this in my life and allowing this for my situation, for my kids, for everything. And then I ask Him to help me obtain the knowledge and the skills to put myself in a better position.
Hmm.
So I'm not praying for him to save me. I'm not praying for him to just take it all away and like do it for me. I'm praying for him to teach me how to do that. And I think that's a different kind of mindset and a different way to pray and that we could all work on is um praising first. You always want to
Mhm.
praise, lead with a positive, right? And then, okay, help me understand. Help me find the knowledge. I don't want you to do it for me because then it's just like he's just handing it over, right? No, I want him to guide me through my knowledge, through my journey. And that's how I lean into my faith in those hard times is just revisiting him and asking for the knowledge to lead me to it. I don't want him to do it for me. I want him to show me the the guideline, I guess, like how to.
Yeah. Seek wisdom. She's more precious than rubies and more valuable than jewels.
Exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Lady wisdom.
Yes. That's
How
one of
is
my
the
favorite verses ever, by the way.
Oh my
Sorry.
gosh. I know there's this lady on Twitter. She's the transformed wife. And I had her tweet. It was like, cropped in Pinterest on one of my boards. That's my widget on my phone. She just, I mean, she gets like, if you read the comments, they're brutal. She's like Lady Wisdom yelling in the square. How does that influence the content you produce and how does that influence your brand strategy and kind of your work life too?
Oh my gosh. It influences everything. And I do want to touch on the fact that my brand strategy and my workflow and my work life, my life in general, is part of that 180 change. I have a totally different strategy to all parts of my life since all of this.
Mm,
And I'm still kind of figuring it out, but it allows me to take one step at a time and more organized. I find so much more value in wisdom and education and how I can receive it, how I can get it. You know,
mhm,
podcasts obviously are one of the best ways to seek wisdom and to help yourself and make strategies and game plans and workflows and, all that kind of stuff. And so, seeking that wisdom through like-minded individuals, Christianity, biblical terms, like that is where I lean into and that's where I go. And I reference the Bible a lot. I've always had an inclination to have a strong faith, but I haven't ever sat down and read every single page of the Bible, and I'm currently doing that. We listen to it every single night, but my favorite one to fall asleep to is Proverbs. Like we can all take so much goodness out of Proverbs, right? Um, but anyway, that's kind of how I go about my life and my work strategy and my workflow. And then also taking that in and being like, understand that I can't do all the things. So I actually today this morning, hired my first employee.
Yay.
And so, yeah, I know, it's so exciting. But handing that over and letting that go and letting her use her creative mind and help me through it. And by her helping me, I'm helping her. I'm providing an income to supplement her family as well. So,
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah. Sorry, I kind of went off the rocker on that one a little bit, but
Well, I mean, in a similar, I guess a similar vein, what is your workflow? And, when you sit down, how do you make the most of your time and what does that look like? And where was it inspired from podcasts and that kind of thing?
so what it looks like is just prioritizing. I use Canva to organize my thoughts, my ideas, all of the things, and I use the whiteboards. It's a great tool. And I am a very visual person. I like to move things. Obviously, I live in a very small house, so it's not feasible for me to have like this giant wall of moving parts. So that helps. Just tracking my progress on tasks. Um, I always have a plan of action with my work as far as like portraits, weddings and portraits. I have that down to a science. But on the flip side, I'm starting to get away from those things now. So my workflow is starting to change.
Mhm.
So I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like and how I'm moving through that is podcasts, of course. I listen to Cowgirls with Cameras, for their workflow. I work with all three of those ladies very closely, so it's also intimate to my heart to like listen to how they paved their road to success. I see it. I've been around it. Um, and then YouTube. I am a YouTube fan. If I don't have the problem or I don't have the answer to the problem, I go to YouTube and I try to learn there. I also am a huge fan of Gemini AI, the Google Gemini. I help I ask it to help me organize my thoughts. Like, okay, if you were a photographer and you had this project with this bid proposal, blah, 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 and I injected in there, and then I was like, how would your workflow look?
Mm.
It can kind of give me an outline. And then from there, I just take what I love from it and I put it into my Canva whiteboard. And then that's how my workflow moves.
Execute.
Yes. Prioritize, execute. Organize,
Feed the
prioritize.
animals.
Yes. Feed animals and kids
Collect the eggs.
somewhere in there.
Oh my gosh, they need help. I need to be a mom right now.
Yep. Yeah, and then that's honestly that's another like really important thing is like blocking off time. I'm a time blocker. I've been really bad about it in the past, just like letting my time run over into other places, but having those strict like um there's a study on it. There's a podcast I listened to just the other day about getting the most out of your brain activity and your time
Mhm.
depending on your sleep. I can also provide you with that podcast because it's for ladies, women, men who use a lot of their brain in the mornings for work, how to get the most out of your time
Cool.
based on your sleep cycle and your core body temperature. And there's a ton of science behind it.
Sweet. I love that. And anyone with an Apple Watch can track all that, right?
Yes. Yes. Yep. And but yeah, just blocking off that time. That's where I was going with that and being like, okay, this is when I need to stop. This is when I need to drink, 24 ounces of water or whatever it is that your body requires. And I need to eat. And these are the things I need to eat. My children need this from me at this time, and my animals eat at this time. It's not going to be perfect every day, but we can shoot for it. So.
And let's talk about your because you have to be really disciplined in your outer life, and then you have to be really disciplined in your inner mental state too. Because,
Mhm.
like you said, that can be a physical manifestation of, okay, I didn't slow down, and now, you know, I get a consequence. So, how, and I don't want to say, like, what's your self-care routine? So,
Right.
that's not where I want to go. But what is your mental state routine? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, so just pausing is it's the most powerful thing you can do in any situation. You have a hard text, you have a hard email, pause, let yourself think of it. Like we've come into society and this cultural norm of having to have the answer right now, instantaneous. Um, People think that because they call or because they text, you're supposed to reply instantly. Life doesn't allow for that. And so if we even in our conversations, as a conversation flows, we pause to gather our thoughts, right? So just that pause, taking that pause to gather your own internal thoughts is very beneficial because then you're responding instead of reacting.
So good.
And so that is also like a cortisol response, that fight or flight mode. Like if you allow it, it'll take over and consume you and just send you down this like adrenaline hole of horribleness. Like it does so much damage to your body to be in that state all the time. And so when you pause and you take a breath, like I just did, like, okay, I went down that hole, take a breath, pause, and be like, let me gather my thoughts. Let me think about how this could go. Or I don't want to overthink about it, but I just want to give myself space.
Hmm.
Um, I meditate. I wouldn't say I meditate. I pause several times throughout the day. So I have that space. Um, and it kind of goes back to, my relationship with God and like praising him for all the things in my life. Like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I just need to breathe for a minute, sit back, drink some magnesium, and talk about and praise him for what I'm grateful for. Like, gosh, I'm grateful I live in such a beautiful place. And then when you start to see those things around you, it's easier to take a pause, take a break. So,
How much do you get writing time? How much writing time do you get?
um, right now it's pretty slim.
Mm.
Because it's my super busy season. My parents have a lodge upriver, and so I was helping with all their systems and everything. But my goal is I like to ride 3 to 4 times a week, for at least an hour. So that's 3 to 6 hours a week is usually what I do for my riding time on horses. So.
Is there anything that you do that you can share with listeners on balancing all that you do? And everyone has, their own individual things that they're balancing and approaching mom guilt.
Oh my gosh. Mom guilt's real. Like, I'm just gonna put that out there first and foremost. Balancing everything and a piece of advice is for those of us moms that have these crazy busy schedules, because our life truly does revolve around busy, right? Like I'm sure we all have our Google calendars with 400 different colors, and there's some that are overlapping and you don't know how you're going to make this work and that. Things that you needed to get done today will still be there tomorrow if they weren't that important. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I've ever received is like, if it was that important, it would have been done yesterday,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So that's where I am like a total neat freak. Horrible, like I have to have a clean house. I have let that go. Like let the mess be a mess, and it'll be there tomorrow. As long as they have clothes, you're doing fine. As long as they're clean, you're doing fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think that's where a lot of mom guilt stems from is that perfection. So we shouldn't expect ourselves to be perfect. And as moms, we're not going to be perfect. It's okay. In those moments, it's really hard to be like, oh, I should have done this, this, and this mom does that, and yada yada. But that mom's not living in the same shoes that you are. She's not living in the same house that you are. She's not living in the same relationship that you are. Like, just taking that perfectionism and this idea of perfect and throwing it out the window because the only person that's perfect is him. So,
Yeah.
I
And
guess that
that's the
would
good news. That's the grace.
grace. Oh my gosh, there's so much grace and like that mom guilt too. Like we give people grace, right? We give people lots of grace. Like give yourself some grace. You're not like we and I think that's where there's a really heavy weight on mothers' shoulders, especially as like our culture and lifestyles are changing with working moms. Um, is like there's a lot of weight, but we can give ourselves grace and allow others to give us grace. I think that's another thing that moms struggle with is like not allowing themselves to receive grace. That's okay. You can let it happen. Like you can accept it, you can let it in. And teaching your children to give you grace is that's where it's going to start too. Like that's one of the things I love about my two girls. They give so much grace. They are such graceful little girls. Like S- and that is the thing that I pride myself most in with them is that they do have that grace. So I'm glad that you said that.
Well, that's what I always think about. And like, Jesus didn't come here to condemn the world, but to save it, right? And through that grace, we have salvation through our faith, not through works. And then, you have to work to survive and keep everything running. What around dating specifically, um, do you have any advice for just that realm and approaching that, in faith?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, a man of God. If he does not have a faith, he will not serve you as he is intended to, and you won't be able to serve him as you are intended to.
That's so good. Can I tell everyone that that's like in getting ready to get married and dating right now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Please do because that is the number one. And I have I reflect on my relationships in the past and I'm like, why didn't that work? What happened? Obviously I had a part in it. I'm not perfect. Going back to that perfect, I'm giving myself grace. I'm learning from my mistakes. However, the number one thing that I can say that lacked in all of my failed relationships, if you will, is they were not men of God. They didn't have that unwavering faith. They didn't have that, our hearts didn't align. And if your heart doesn't align with somebody, how can you expect a relationship to flourish and grow?
Hmm.
And if you don't have the same projection, upward, forward. If they have a forward, downward, that totally goes against everything in your heart. Yeah.
The ox needs to be equally yoked.
Exactly, exactly. That balance is so important. And sometimes, yeah, it's gonna be 80, it's gonna be 20, it's gonna be 30, it's gonna be 70. Like that's part of it, but having a partner that also understands that that's what it looks like.
Men, serve your wife as Jesus serves the church, God as God serves the church. And
Yes.
then someone pointed out that later on in that verse, submit to one another in love. It's not just a one-way road of
Mhm.
submission. And then
Yeah.
if you don't have that equal yoke, two oxen with the same yoke, you cannot serve each other as God intended. That's so good. Just that first point was so good.
Well, and it's such an overlooked, it's so simple, like, and it's so overlooked. And I think we try to make more of something that, more of things than what they are.
Hmm.
Like, just read it and read it again, and it's exactly what it is.
Get your
So,
girlfriends, get in your car, go to church, pick a husband.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Go to
that
that church cookout.
easy. It's that easy. That's where, and I will say, just like in my realm of dating, it gets a little bit tricky is I live in the Western lifestyle, right? I ride horses. I
You
love
are the
travel.
Western lifestyle.
Sometimes, some days. But finding a man in this, there's wonderful men, like, but they don't live in this lifestyle. This godly
Hmm.
man is far and few between in this lifestyle that truly lives it. Like, oh, a person can talk it, but can they walk it? And so that I think that's been, the most difficult part of dating for me.
Hmm.
So is just finding that the trueness, the walk and the talk.
Well, yeah. And then you can go to church and not be filled with the Spirit, right? So
Yes.
you can fix fence and burn cattle and never go to church, but have
Hmm.
given your life to Jesus. So gotta
Exactly.
gotta go
You
scout him
find
out.
them.
I think it's more up in God's hands, right? Than driving around looking for him.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing is just be like, his plan is far greater than mine, and he is gonna make it work when the time is right.
Yeah.
And he's gonna provide it when it's the best timing.
God's timing's not our timing. We can't understand him.
That is we want to. And as a female, as a woman, it is so hard because we want to know, right? Like we want to know. We want the definitive. We want the absolute. And it's really hard to be told that it's not in our hands, but it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where you keep the faith. And you stay in the faith by meeting together. Don't neglect meeting together,
Mhm.
keeping your village, keeping your good Christian women in your life that speak life into you and don't tear you down or tear everyone else down or make you just like, oh man, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Keeping those people in your life that build you up and lead each other on to good deeds. So I appreciate you taking this time with me today. Thank you, Kaysyn.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. And I am so grateful to be here. So thank you.
Ditto. Can you drop a few links that we can link down below for website, any upcoming projects?
So, yeah, people can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Kaysyn Krystal Photography is my handle for all three of those. I do have a website. It is kaysynkrystal.photography. And I can also be found on YouTube, Kaysyn Krystal Photography.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kaysyn.
Thank you.